Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. My name is Kareem George. I'm the principal of Culture Traveler, and I am delighted to be joined by my colleague Melinda from Taj, and we're going to transport you to the magical world of Taj. We've been looking at year-end dreams, year-end inspirations this week on our social media for Culture Traveler, and I thought there would be no perfect exotic escape than exploring the world of Taj. So Melinda, how are you today? Thanks so much for joining us.
I'm great, Kareem. Thank you so much for including me. I'm really honored to be doing this with you.
Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And Melinda, many of our guests may not be totally familiar with Taj, and I thought maybe you could start out just by telling us a bit about what Taj is and what experiences come with the Taj brand.
Sure. Taj is an India-based company. Our parent company is actually called IHCL, which is India Hotel Company Limited. And under that umbrella, there's several different Taj brands, or several different brands. And Taj is the one that is best known here in North America, and also the one that is a luxury brand. And we're part of IHCL as a brand, is part of a group called the Tata Group. And Tata is one of the most respected conglomerates in India. And we have there are probably about 100 companies under the Tata umbrella. And some of the ones your viewers may be familiar with are Tata Motors, which owns Land Rover and Jaguar, and also Tata Beverages owns Tetley Tea. So those are a couple of our cousins, so to speak. And one of the I've been working with Taj now for almost 15 years. And I'm very proud to be doing so because one of the big ethics of Taj is that, or of Tata, is that 66% of all of the earnings of all the Tata companies go back into charitable trusts. So whether it's for disaster relief or for healthcare or for education. So it's a very, very well-respected company. I could go on for literally hours talking about some of the things they do, but it's just important to remember that in this day and age of corporate social responsibility.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, let's start by being transported a bit to the world of Taj. What a fantastic video, Melinda. Wow.
Thank you. It highlights a little bit about what we're doing as far as, all the new standards now that have been imposed, for lack of a better word, about COVID. So we've always obviously had the highest standards of cleanliness, but even more so now. And a lot of contactless things are happening now too, as far as being able to check in online and check out online, and being in some hotels, being able to use your phone to open the door. So we're doing everything we can to make everybody comfortable.
Fantastic.
So yeah, and so the previous slide was all about the company as IHCL and the number of hotels we have. So our home is India, where we have over 200 hotels now, but we also do have properties in the Maldives, in Bhutan, in Nepal, Sri Lanka, London, New York and San Francisco, Cape Town and Dubai. So I'll talk a little bit more about those as we go along.
Fantastic.
And one of the things we're really proud of is this year, India, the Taj brand was named India's strongest brand by a publication called Brand Finance. It's out of the UK. So this is India's strongest brand across the board. It's not just the hospitality industry, but it's any of the major industries in India. We come out on top, which is great. So we're so well known, especially in India, but now, obviously overseas as well.
Wow, amazing. Super. Well,
And then this is our flagship hotel. It's the Taj Mahal Palace in Mumbai. And that's what started the chain off back in 1903. So it was actually the first luxury hotel in India. It was the first property to have electricity, and also the first property to have an elevator. And one of the things I wanted to mention, Kareem, here is that we have an amazing art collection here. And I know you have a lot of viewers who are very interested in art and music. And
yes.
It's not generally just something the public can see without knowing about it. But because you're one of our valued partners, whenever you have clients going and staying at the property, please let us know so we can arrange a tour of this art collection for them.
Oh, fantastic. Wow. Wow. Well, great. That really, gives us a strong summary of the Taj brand. And here I had just asked you, Melinda, to give us a little visual graphic of all the protocols in place. I think it's so important now to know that it's not just a legendary, iconic brand, but it's adapting with the times, and especially right now that safety is top priority. So thank you.
Absolutely. So as much as we'd like to be, we're still trying to be as much, because we're very much about Tajness. You saw the Tajness in the video. It's very much high touch. So it's hard when you're trying to not be so high touch, but we're still trying to be as high touch as we possibly can, and also offering all the zero touch options as far as I mentioned before, online and off, online check-in, check-out. You download the menus on your phone. You can open your door with your phone. So as much as we can, we're smiling through our masks, believe me. And we're still being as high touch as we possibly can with all these contactless things that we have to offer now too.
Great. So I remember back to a few years ago when I was doing my year-end dreaming, and I was dreaming about going to India and staying in one of the iconic Taj Palace hotels. And so at this time of year, and I finally made that trip happen last year, which was
So
great.
glad.
One of my trips right before the pandemic. I was so lucky to get it in. But I will never forget the service, the beautiful properties, the architecture, everything that I saw with those palace hotels. So I'm so excited that you're going to tell us a bit more about it, and that we can actually transport our guests right now to the palaces.
Absolutely. So I think it's the next slide. I believe the next one's a video. And we've been honored this year because so many of our properties, both in India and outside of India, have won awards with the Condé Nast Traveler Survey.
Amazing. Fantastic. So let's talk about the palaces, Melinda.
My favorite. So I know you had a chance to stay in a couple when you were over there. The first one you're looking at is called the Umad Bhawan Palace. And most of our palaces are located in the northwestern corner of India, in the area of Rajasthan. And this is in the city of Jodhpur. And this is actually it's one of the landmarks. There's two landmarks in Jodhpur, our palace and then the Mehrgarh Fort. But this is very interesting. It's almost like a royal bed and breakfast, because this is where the royal family still lives. So
Wow.
This palace has over 300 rooms, but about 2/3 of that belongs to the royal family, who's a family of 5. So you have about maybe 70 rooms for guests. But It's
Wow.
pretty incredible, because if the royal family is there, it's very likely they could be having dinner in the restaurant. The Maharaja likes to swim every day. We have an indoor pool and an outdoor pool. So if somebody's swimming in the morning, they may be swimming with the Maharaja. So it really
Wow.
is like staying in a royal bed and breakfast, but it's an incredible experience. And this gives you an idea of the grounds they have as well. So a lot of times they'll do special dinners outside. It's just amazing. And then this is kind of shows you where our palaces are. So most of them are up in the north central part of India. And then we do have the Falaknuma Palace, which I'm actually sitting in front of right now as a backdrop.
Ah.
It's a little bit further south in the city of Hyderabad. but it's butler service, all the palaces. And I think you had a chance to take one of them. They do a palace walk in the afternoons
Yeah.
around 4 o'clock,
Mhm.
maybe 45 minutes, an hour, just talking about the history of the palaces. And these are palaces that are still owned by the royal families. So it's still part of their portfolio, so to speak, but we have the privilege of operating them as hotels. So you can imagine the standards we have to adhere to
Mhm.
keep them running and keep the standards up that the royal family would expect.
Mhm. Exactly.
So the one that's the most well known is the Rambagh Palace, because Jaipur is always one of the cities that most people visit when they go to India for the first time. It's part of what they call the Golden Triangle.
Mhm.
And the Rambagh Palace has been a hotel about 60 years now. But before that, it was the home of the royal family. So this just gives you some insight into what one of the rooms looks like, the courtyard in the lower right-hand corner, the polo lounge up in the upper right-hand corner. But every single palace, as you'll see, and as you know for yourself, Kareem,
Mhm.
they're all very unique. So, it's not like if you say, oh, gee, I don't want to use all the same Taj brand when I go to India because I want to give them some variants. I mean, every
Mhm.
single hotel we have, I mean, the palaces obviously, but all the others, they're all very different from each other. So
Mhm.
they all have their own sense of place.
Mhm.
But the palaces are kind of like the icing on the cake, so to speak, of our portfolio.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of staying at the Rambagh when I was in Jaipur, and it was just unbelievable. I have so many memories, but in particular, I think that first night we had dinner in what it had to have been, I think, the grandest of dining rooms, and it was all Indian cuisine. And
Savarna Mahal, yeah, that's
yes,
the Indian restaurant.
yes, it was just stunning. A meal I'll never forget.
And all of our palaces have a variety of restaurants. So of course we'll have an Indian restaurant, but we also have other restaurants that serve all different types of cuisine. So if your clients don't want to eat Indian every day, they certainly don't have to. They have options.
Mhm.
This is also a very iconic palace. This is the Lake Palace in Udaipur. Udaipur is the city of lakes. It's about an hour flight from Jaipur, where the other palace was.
Mhm.
And this was built back in the 1700s. And the reason it was built, it was to become the summer palace of the royal family, because this area is very hot and dry in the summer. And so even though they're only 5 minutes from land, it was just that much cooler to stay in the lake. So some of your viewers may recognize this. It played a major role in the movie Octopussy way
Mhm.
back. I guess I don't know when that movie was made, back in the 70s or 80s. And there's actually a CD in all the rooms of the movie in case anybody wants to kind of relive it while they're staying there.
Yeah.
And all of our palaces, of course, have amazing spas as well. But this one in particular has a spa boat. So we do have a spa on property, but also we have your clients have the option of having a spa treatment on the spa boat. And as I mentioned, it's only about a 5-minute boat ride out to the palace, but it's just you're in another world when you're out there.
Mhm. I remember the transport. The whole experience was incredible, but I remember just all of the anticipation of finally experiencing this personally and getting there and getting to that dock and seeing the boat come across from the palace. And it's a private dock where we're met with a musician that's playing traditional Indian music. And it just felt as though with every moment that we were traveling over to the palace, every worry was disappearing. It was just
It's
unbelievable
magical.
to then finally arrive. And then we arrive on the dock at the palace, and of course we're greeted with the red carpet, literally, and another musician and rose petals coming from the ceiling. I mean, it was just out of the sky. It
We're
was
giving all our secrets away.
it was the most unbelievable welcome I've ever experienced.
Yeah, and every time I'm staying at any of the palaces, I just pinch myself because I feel like I'm living in a dream. And then
Mhm,
this is a few more shots of that Umid Bowen Palace that I mentioned at the beginning.
mhm.
It's just, again, it's. I know you haven't been to Jaipur yet, but your
No.
next trip you need to go because it's a very interesting city as well. But just the experience to stay in this palace and know that the royal family is there too. And there was a movie that was filmed a few years ago. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'll let you know. It was with
Mhm.
Hugh Bonneville, who was in Downton Abbey, and it was
Ah,
all about the partition of India and Pakistan right after, and then like 1948,
mhm.
and most of it was filmed here. So
Great.
it's
Wow.
interesting to see that a lot of my palaces show up in movies down the road.
Mhm.
And I'll probably think of the name as we go on. And speaking of showing up in series, this is the Falaknuma Palace, which I'm sitting in front of. I truly wish I were there right now, but it's just a backdrop. But this is the palace that's a little bit further south in the city of Hyderabad in India. And if any of you viewers watch the show The Amazing Race, I think it was the episode right before Thanksgiving this year that they were in Hyderabad. And the second half of the show, the challenge took place at the Falak Numaa Palace. And the challenge was, this is the world's longest dining room table. It's 101 people. And so
Wow.
the challenge was that the contestants had to arrange place settings exactly as they should be. And so I'm sure it was a couple of my palace staffers who were there doing the instructions. And then they were there with rulers because everything's got to be set, just certain number of, everything's got to be perfect. So
Yeah.
they were there with the rulers measuring everything. And, but I mean, literally, like the horse and carriage was in it was just amazing. It was great exposure for us. So we were very pleased to see that too. But this gives you a different, Hyderabad's further south, so it's in a different area of India. So if your viewers have a chance to experience two areas of India, I would say do Rajasthan and then come down and do the Falak Numaa Palace, maybe at the end. Hyderabad's got a great airport. It's serviced by a lot of international carriers. All the infrastructure in India is pretty new. All the airports have been, in the major cities are all been built in the last 4 or 5 years. And it's a great way to end the trip and experience a little bit of a different area of India. And then, of course, a lot of people like to visit Varanasi, which is the holiest city in India and also one of the oldest cities in India. And this is our palace there. It's a small palace, just about 12 rooms. But this is also a nice way to end the trip. This is where the Hindus, it's the most religious city for the Hindus. So those who can, when they pass away, their families try to bring them there to be cremated. But it's a very spiritual city. And I know, Kareem, you've been there, right?
Yes, indeed. This was supposed to be our Christmas last year, and we had some weather, so we had to shift some things around. And Taj was fantastic with being flexible and doing that. But we made it to Varanasi shortly after Christmas, and we had dinner right on the terrace that we're looking at right now of the palace, which was magical because Varanasi is so busy, so frenetic. So many people are coming there for their pilgrimage, which is the experience we wanted to have. We wanted to see that firsthand, but then being able to come back to the palace and this magical dinner where we were, I think, one of 2 groups that were there for dinner on the terrace that evening, which is fantastic to have the contrast of such density to complete exclusivity and beauty and incredible service and food, of course.
I'm so glad you had a chance to experience it.
Yeah. So something I haven't experienced at Melinda, which I recently learned about, are Taj safaris. And I love safari. South Africa is another one of my specialty areas, and I go to do safari almost every year, several safaris, and I've never done it in India. And the more I learn about it, the more intrigued I am. So could you take a moment to tell us a bit about what the safari experience is like in India?
Sure. I know a lot of people aren't aware that you can actually have safaris in India. And we have 4 safari lodges in India that are all top luxury. And then we also have one in Nepal. But the safari experience is, and I've not taken a safari in Africa yet, but from what people have told me, it's a very different experience in India. Obviously, the wildlife is different. Everybody hopes to see the tigers, which I'd say, a lot of times they do, more often than not, but obviously there's no guarantee. They're not sitting by the gate of the park waiting for the people to come in. But it's a very just experience how you track them, because you look at the prints in the ground and you also listen to the alarm calls of the animals. And the naturalists they don't use walkie-talkies. So it's all just about what you see and what you hear is where you can find the tigers.
Wow.
So I've been fortunate enough a couple of times I've done the safaris to see some tigers. So just to give you an idea of where they're located, they're really in the center of India. So they're a little bit off the beaten path, but I think in a way that's good right now for people who want to go to India and maybe not want to be in all the chaos of what some of the other cities in India are. This is a great place to go because you literally are out in the middle of nowhere, so to speak. It takes a little bit of time to get there, but it's well worth it. And you have the four lodges. They're all very different from each other. It's in the state of Madhya Pradesh, and they have 10 national parks and 25 wildlife sanctuaries there.
Wow.
Those are the vehicles we use, which are actually our sister company, Tata Motor Vehicles. So what they're doing now too to adhere to the new COVID restrictions is just putting fewer people in the vehicles too. So it's a very, very safe experience.
Fantastic.
And there's amazing wildlife there, 45 different mammal species. Obviously, there are the tigers that everybody hopes to get a chance to see, monkeys, all types of deer.
Wow. Unbelievable.
And they also have some leopards there too. And then amazing butterfly species. I mean, more than 150 different types of butterflies. Who even knew that many
Wow.
existed?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then also for people who like to watch birds, I mean, more than 500 types of bird species. And I've never, I like birds, but it was never like, oh my gosh, I want to go bird watching. But
Mhm.
it was, I mean, just driving through with the naturalists and the rangers, and they're pointing out, and so many are so colorful, as you can see here, that it
Mhm.
was really, really interesting. And even just the topography of the parks is beautiful too. And
Yeah.
so this is just some example of some of the lodges we have. Everyone is different. They all have about 12 bungalows. And there's 2 safaris included, one at 6 in the morning and one about 3 in the afternoon. But they all have spas, they've got swimming pools. One of the other things we like to do is, since these are kind of in remote areas, we
Mhm.
do village visits. So,
Ah,
so
great.
your travelers really get to visit. I mean, they don't speak the same language, obviously, but there are people
Mhm.
who go and translate. But just really get to see what some of these really remote villages are like in India too, which is a very unique experience. And we have cooking classes at the property. So it's just a really relaxing time between the safaris and then just doing a spa treatment, a cooking class, or maybe going to visit some of the villages.
Wow. Amazing.
And the food is amazing. I mean, it's all farm to table. This gives you a little bit of go ahead and start the video.
Fantastic. Wow. I'm ready to go on a
Your
safari
next trip.
montage.
You'll
Great.
love it.
Yeah. So many of us are ready to escape right now, especially me, with how the weather
Me
is
too.
changing and it's getting gray and dark. And I know there's several Taj properties that we can travel to right now. So could you tell us a bit about some of those, Melinda?
Sure. We have 2 in the Maldives. So you're looking at our high-end 5-star property, Taj Exotica Resort and Spa in the Maldives. It's only 15 minutes from the airport, so it's very convenient. No matter what time your travelers' flights arrive, even if it's a 2 in the morning, we can pick them up by boat. Which, if they're at a more remote property, it's all by airplane, and they can't fly at night. And so, literally within about half an hour, if they've got their luggage and everything, they're over at the property. They're settled in their rooms. And they're doing really well with the U.S. market because I think people really want to escape. So the
Yes.
U.S. market is always in like the top 3 arrivals right now into the Maldives. So
Wow.
it's a viable option for people who do want to go there, and all the protocols are taking place. And I can share more details about the COVID testing with you too, if you're interested later.
Mhm. Fantastic.
But all sorts of activities. The water is beautiful. And this is our other property, the Taj Coral Reef, which is also a 5-star property, a little bit lower on the price point than the Taj Exotica. And you can see it's like a heart-shaped island, and
Mhm.
it's 45 minutes by boat from the airport. And every property in the Maldives has its own island. So it's very private. You're very protected. And you just got the beautiful white sandy beaches and those beautiful crystal blue waters.
Amazing.
And one of the ways to get to the Maldives is via Dubai. Probably the best way, actually. And Dubai is open now to US travelers as well. And this is our Taj Dubai, which has been open about 5 years now. And it's the downtown Dubai area, so it's very well located. And we have some of the largest rooms in Dubai. And I sell this a lot to the US. I sell a property a lot to the US market because it's very tastefully done. Because as you know, in the Middle East, a lot of the properties are a little bit over the top.
Mhm.
And I think some of us are not quite used to that so much, but this is a lot more Western. And I think if you go to the next slide, you can see what the rooms look like. They're
Mhm.
about 450 square feet. About 2/3 of the rooms have that amazing view that you see at the luxury Burj view of the Burj
Mhm.
Khalifa, which is the world's tallest building. And they have these incredible fountains at the bottom too.
Yes,
So just
I've seen
imagine
that.
your travelers being able to be in one of those rooms and just have that view and watch the fountains, as I think they go off every hour. And then
Mhm.
this is a new property we have coming on board. It should be opening next year in the Palm area of Dubai. So this will be a
Wow,
Taj Exotic Resort and Spa.
amazing. Looks beautiful.
And then Cape Town just opened, I think about a few weeks ago. So excited now that American travelers can go there again. And I know you've stayed here, Kareem. This is the Taj
Mhm.
Cape Town. It's
Mhm.
located right in the heart of the city. You see that red dot on the map? So
Yep.
literally, this is the city walk, which includes basically all the historic sites of Cape Town, with the exception of probably Robben Island.
Mhm.
And you can walk to any of this right out of the hotel. In fact, it's included as one of the amenities for your travelers when they do stay with us. And it's the two buildings are about over 100 years old, and then there's a new tower in the back. So these rooms that you're seeing here are in the tower. Many of them have those beautiful views of Table Mountain.
Mhm.
And the hotel's about 170 rooms, so it's a comfortable size, and people just love staying there. It's a very good price point too. That and the Taj Dubai, they're both five-star properties, but within the lower scale of the price points. So it's, we like to call it affordable luxury.
Yeah, it's
And
great
Bombay
value.
Brasserie, in a few of our hotels, there's a signature Indian restaurant. And this was so popular in Cape Town that we doubled the size of the restaurant. So it's
Wow.
probably the best Indian restaurant in Cape Town. But of course, you have an all-day dining restaurant and other options as well for people who want, other types of food as well. But
Mhm.
this is very popular for dinner.
I've had several meals at Bombay Brasserie.
So you've had a
It's
chance to experience it. And one
absolutely
thing I wanted to
delicious.
mention too is that we are, as I mentioned, in the heart of the city, but we do provide complimentary transportation down to the waterfront, which is probably about a 5 or 10 minute ride, depending on what the traffic is like.
Mhm.
And so people like the fact of being an authentic part of town, but they still want access to the waterfront or other parts of the city, and we provide that for them complimentary.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
And then London, we do have the two hotels in London. They sit right beside each other. They're literally a 5 minute walk to Buckingham Palace. So very well located in the heart of Westminster. And 51 Buckingham Gate, what you're looking at right there, is an all-suite property. So it's basically like luxury flats in London with five-star hotel service. So this is the smallest room your travelers would have, which is
Amazing.
basically a bedroom, a sitting area, and then a full kitchen. So all of the rooms there have got full kitchens. So I think
Amazing.
especially right now, as people can, once London opens up again to us, if people
Mhm.
want more privacy, if they want to be able to know, gee, I can cook in my room if I want to, it's like having a luxury flat in London. So I think it's a very unique, I mean, I know there's lots of great hotels in London, but not a lot that offer this. So I think it's a very unique product and
Mhm.
very timely right now.
Mhm.
And then the St. James Court sits right next door, and that's more of a traditional, really nice 4-star hotel. And they share all the same restaurants. We even have a Michelin star restaurant there called Quillen. This is a wing that's just been newly refurbished, the premium wing, just lovely. And then nice spacious rooms, about 350 square feet, very comfortable. So
Wow.
you've got more of the option of having the 5-star flats, or you've got a really nice 4-star product right next door.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And I know many people are thinking and needing to stay closer to home, at least in the short term. And there is certainly Taj Magic here in the US, right?
Yes, we do. We have two options for Tajness and Taj Magic here in the U.S. So the Pierre in New York is an icon. It's been there since 1930. It actually celebrates its 90th birthday this year in 2020. And of course, they had
Wow.
all these amazing celebrations planned, which couldn't happen. But
Geez.
they did put out a few nice videos of things. But hopefully next year, maybe they'll make up for that. But it's a great location. It's on Fifth Avenue, right across from Central Park. It's 189 rooms, and it really is more of a residential feel. You almost feel like it's like Upper East Side luxury. And in normal times, we are the only hotel in New York that has elevator attendants 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But right now we can't have them because obviously of COVID. But it's such a nice touch because they've been there forever. Once your guests are in the elevator once, they know them, they know what floor they're on. It's just a really nice, again, another nice touch of Tajness. And within those 189 rooms, you have about 60 suites. And this is an example of one of the suites. It's the Getty Suite. J. Paul Getty was one of the first owners of the hotel. And this is one of the suites that has a terrace. We have 2 suites with terraces. But one
Wow.
of the things that Pierre is doing right now with COVID and also for the holidays is that, and this would apply more, I think, to people probably in the New York area. If they want to get away, but they really can't get away too far, come stay at the Pierre. I mean, we have all these amazing suites. And we're offering, we can prepare holiday meals. So they can,
Wow.
bring their close family or if they have a friend's bubble, whatever, spend some time at the Pierre and the chefs will cook for them and they'll have a wonderful holiday celebration. So they
Sounds
feel like they're
perfect.
getting away. And
Sounds perfect.
within the confines of the pier, we also have about 60 or 70 co-ops. So we have residents who live in the pier. And one of the current residents is Tory Burch, the fashion designer. But some
Ah,
of our past residents have been Audrey Hepburn, Coco Chanel, Karl Lagerfeld, Johnny Carson, Elizabeth Taylor. So there's a lot of really interesting history at the property. If the
amazing.
walls could talk. And then last but not least, we do have in San Francisco, we have Taj Campton Place. It's right off of Union Square. That's these two buildings right here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's literally half a block off of Union Square, or you go the other way and you're in Chinatown, and it's just 110 rooms. So again, I think it's a really nice product for what we're going through now, because you're not in some big hotel. You're going to be it's intimate. This is one of your typical rooms there, very comfortable. Some of the best beds I've slept in. And a couple of things I wanted to mention here is we have the most amazing chef. I mean, Taj is really known for its food throughout the world, but we have 2 Michelin star chefs. One is in London at the properties you saw there, and it's a Southern Indian cuisine restaurant called Quillen. And then we have a celebrity chef here in San Francisco, is Chef Sri Gopinathan, and he's also from the south of India in Kerala. But he is the first and only Indian chef in the world to have 2 Michelin stars. I mean,
Wow.
he's maintained at least 1 Michelin star at that restaurant for probably 7 or 8 years, and now he has 2. And because the hotel is small, they only have 1 kitchen. So whether you're having this 2-star Michelin dining experience, which can't happen right now, obviously, but hopefully we'll be able to again soon, or you're having room service breakfast, or you're having hamburger in the bar, it's all coming from that same kitchen. And this is one of his signature dishes called the spice pot. So it's actually baby vegetables in a quinoa base in an actual flower pot. And then they put liquid nitrogen around the bottom to reflect the fog of San Francisco.
Amazing.
And I know one of your colleagues had a chance to stay there recently. I know he had a great stay, Warren. And
Yeah.
also one of the things we're doing here is that right now, I think it's really a great idea, is because the hotel is small and some of the floors only have 3 or 4 rooms, you can have a floor to yourself. So let's say you had a friends or family bubble that wanted to get away but didn't want to be with a lot of other people. They can reserve these rooms on that floor, and they will be the only group on that floor, which I think is really important right now. And we can do that in New York as well. Right now occupancies, I wish they were like skyrocketing, but occupancies are such right now that even in some of our larger hotels, we'll either try to make sure that the only ones on the floor, or at least in the same confines of a floor, so they feel safe and protected.
Fantastic. Wow. The time has flown by, Melinda.
I can't believe
wow.
it. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So, thank you everyone for tuning in. We've just spent the
Thank you so
past
much.
20 minutes with my colleague Melinda from Taj, learning about the Taj magic, seeing the properties in India, the palace properties, learning about Taj safaris, learning about how we can escape to the Maldives, and also how we can just stay here at home in New York or San Francisco. So
Absolutely. And one
thanks.
thing I wanted to mention too, we do have another division called Taj Air. We do have a private jet. It's housed in Mumbai. So it's more for if people were within India, but we can even offer that as an option too, if people are over there and would rather fly privately. I think it seats 8 or 9 passengers. So that's something to think about as well, Kareem.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I've been watching comments and questions throughout, and I think we've been very thorough because our audience has been very quiet. So I think I'd like to think that we did a really good job
I
with
hope so.
with sharing the Taj magic. So thanks so much again for your time and
You're
for
welcome.
spending
It
this
was a
Wednesday
pleasure.
evening with us. And I know that Taj is going to be part of year-end dreaming for all of us, and hopefully year-end 2021, many of us can be staying at the Rambagh or at the Lake Palace
I
or
hope
on
so too.
safari.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Well, Melinda, thanks so much again. All best to you out
Happy
west.
holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays. And
this is one year I'm not sorry to see go by.
yes, yes.
I'm really looking forward to 2021. I think it's going to be a good year.
We
If we can just
all
get
are.
through the first few months.
Great. Well, thanks so much and good night. And thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thanks again, Kareem. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.